Hey Calgary, welcome back. I'm joined now by Liz Goldie from the Calgary and District Beekeepers Association. Liz, thanks a bunch for being here.
Thanks for inviting us.
You've brought all kinds of fascinating and amazing things, and I want to get into what's going on here. First and foremost, though, tell me a bit about the Calgary and District Beekeepers Association, if you would, please.
Well, the association's been around for 50, 60 years. We have a lot of members who have been keeping bees for decades. We have commercial beekeepers, but the majority of our members are actually new beekeepers. Beekeepers that have just started this year and are getting excited about the bees that are arriving for them and where they're buying bees, and they're taking courses. We offer courses. And
okay.
So anyhow, we just, our purpose is really to support beekeepers and to educate the public so they understand honeybees better.
Yeah, because I don't think a whole lot of people know much about honeybees. I know personally, I don't know a whole lot about honeybees.
Well, hopefully you'll know more
clearly.
after this.
What's the allure, though? I mean, why are people getting involved? Is it they want to be able to produce a bit of their own food? They like the idea of, I guess, being a caretaker? I mean, what is the allure of beekeeping?
Well, I think that you hit on two of them. I think that the further we move away and become more urbanized, people really want to know where their food comes from. So a lot of people go into beekeeping just because they want to be able to produce honey, particularly hobby beekeepers. They're not looking at making necessarily money. They're looking at being able to have a honey source, a food source. They know exactly where it came from, and they like to share it with their family and their friends and their neighbors. So there's that part of it. Myself, I grew up on a farm, and I loved agriculture and particularly animal husbandry. And when I couldn't get chickens, well, I got bees, and they have to be the most fascinating creature that I could ever have imagined. And you know, from them getting nectar and storing it in a honey stomach, and then regurgitating that when they get back to the hive, to a house bee that places it, fanning it, making honey, and with the enzymes from their gut. That's why it's a great antimicrobial substance and a health substance. So, you know, and the wax they produce, they have mirror glands on their abdomen, and they secrete wax, and then they chew it up, and they make the comb that they put the honey in.
Which is what we saw earlier on the screen there.
Yes. So anyhow, they're very fascinating, and I think once you get into it, most people really enjoy it.
Now, is it true that bee populations are on the decline?
Well, there's many, many different types of bees. And I think there's something like 3,500 different types of bees just in North America. There is one type of honeybee, and that's the European honeybee. And the European honeybee in Alberta, and recently in most provinces in Canada, are not declining. In fact, in Alberta, over the last decade, they've increased every year, and they're up by about 10%. So that's the European honeybee.
Specific, okay, gotcha.
Specifically, and we know that's a fact. The European honeybee is not in decline because beekeepers are required, they are required to register their hives and report in a survey every year the number of hives that they have and the number of colonies. So they count them, and they know exactly what's going on.
Fairly well regimented then, sounds like.
Yeah, if you go to Alberta Agriculture, the website, they have the surveys there for everybody to see that the honeybee's not in decline. However, when it comes to the native bees, the bumblebees, the mason bees, you know, we don't know where all their hives are and or where all their colonies are. And so it's a little bit harder to get a finger on it. But we have bee increases, or honeybee increases, because we're managing them well. We have commercial beekeepers that they're second, third generation. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of threats.
Is that here locally speaking, or are we talking North America wide?
Well, I suspect it's North America wide, but I do know in Alberta it's a fact. There's a lot of threats to honeybees around the world, though, including in Alberta, whether it's a varroa mite and different diseases, that you have to give your bees medicine to make sure that these pests don't kill them. And you have to monitor. The main thing is monitoring to see what's going on in your hive. Things like pesticide application.
A lot of talk of that,
yeah. It's a you know, in some places it's a bigger problem. In places like Ontario and through the states where they have major corn crops, which don't require pollination, they may not be as attentive when they apply pesticides as they are in Alberta, where the main crop is canola. And canola farmers want as many bees as they can get, and they pay beekeepers per hive or per colony to come and pollinate their crops. So with bees, they can increase their profits. And the honeybee people, the commercial people, and myself included, they love,
it's a win-win.
They love canola. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everybody works together. So you're not going to have a canola farmer go out there and spray pesticides in the middle of the day knowing he's going to wipe out the colony of bees next door. So some people spray at night. They always notify the beekeeper. So it's really a nice...
It's fascinating. It's interesting.
It is.
No idea. Folks, we're going to jump to a quick break. Stay with us. So if a Calgarian wants to get into beekeeping, they want to build their own apiary, or I guess bee yard, what do we have here? I mean, what is the Calgarian going to need? What's someone need to get moving on beekeeping?
Well, if you want to become a beekeeper, it's a good idea to join a club, because there's a lot of people there who know and be able to give you all the guidance that you need.
So learn. You got to learn first.
Learn it. And we are offering a course, I think it's March 5th and 6th on our website. You can sign up. You can come to our club meetings because they're educational, and you get to meet a lot of beekeepers.
What's the website? Calgary Bees?
CalgaryBeekeepers.com.
CalgaryBeekeepers.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you go on there and you have questions, the CalgaryBeekeepers@gmail.com.
Okay,
and
cool.
there we respond within what depends what it is. We have a swarm response in the
summer.
You
sound like a passion. Yeah, swarm response actually.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of those, but we don't want to, but it's necessary.
I did want to touch on that a little bit. So bees, the way I understand it, they are protected under Alberta Agriculture Act. The way I understand things. Now, what does that mean exactly? Are they protected as an endangered species? If you have a swarm in your backyard, if you spray it to try and kill it, that's not a great idea. You might get in trouble.
Yeah, if there is a swarm, we deal with swarms, and we deal with we call them cutouts. When a honeybee has swarmed and it's a new colony, the colony's been very successful and it's developed a new queen and swarmed. Yeah. And when that happens, sometimes they find a new house and a new place to live, and it is in your house. So we do cutouts and remove bees like this and from your home. We also have just swarms, and that's normally what we respond to, where you as a person will see a swarm and call 311 or contact us directly. The 311 swarm calls go to our website.
Okay.
And so we just go pick them up. And the good thing about a swarm is that you have to have caution with them and not get necessarily close. But when they swarm, they realize it may take them a while to find a new home. So they eat as much honey as they can. Okay. And when they're full of honey like that, it's difficult for them to sting. So they're fairly, they're not very aggressive.
Interesting. Okay.
So anyhow, you just call us and we come and we'll pick up the swarm.
Now, will you put that swarm to use then? I mean, will that then become part of a colony?
Yes, we put them in one of these boxes, and it has frames, that are like this. Yeah. And here you can just see some queen cells that the bees have made.
That is cool. Okay.
And so yeah, that's one of the services that we do, and the guidelines in Calgary that our club developed, I guess, 3 years ago. They specifically say a number of things, but one is that you try to be a beekeeper and maintain your hive in a situation so that it doesn't swarm. So we try not to.
What are some of the concerns that neighbors must have? So if I've got a bunch of bees, I'm keeping bees in my backyard. What are sort of the common misconceptions that people have about keeping bees?
Well, I know some of my neighbors were concerned when I first got bees, and I simply took out frames and showed them bees, and they perceive that bees are an awful lot more aggressive than they really are. Yeah. And part of the problem is, if you ask a group of children, have you ever been stung by a bee? They'll all put up their hands. Well, have you been stung by a bee, or were you stung by a wasp?
Yeah, chances are it's the latter.
It's the wasp, because wasps are much more territorial and much more aggressive, whereas a honeybee will actually only sting if they feel as though they're threatened and they're defending their hive. Yeah. So you know, obviously if one lands on you and you squish it, it might sting you. But they're a lot less aggressive, whether it's a honeybee or a bumblebee, a lot less aggressive than a standard wasp.
That's a huge misconception, I think.
Well, it gives people fear when fear's not needed. You still have to respect them though, because if they do feel threatened, they're going to sting you, and that's what happens. But they don't. It's their choice not. They prefer not to.
I noticed you brought some honey or honey-like products.
That's for you.
Oh, I'm just getting showered with gifts today.
Oh, I know. Hey,
thanks,
but nothing will be nicer than honey.
Thanks a lot for that. So besides honey and honey-like products, what are some of the other, I guess, products or creations that are yielded from beekeeping?
Well, wax is another one other than honey. And the wax, it's obviously candles. I make lip balm.
Lip balm, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm just looking at a hobby beekeeper.
But there is potential for this to be a fairly lucrative endeavor for people. They put in the time,
certainly,
the effort.
Certainly. And, you know, I think, you know, I do make money off of it, but I give most of my product away, so it kind of gets you. Well, that's actually from our president. I sold out of honey in September, so.
Good for you.
I just, but they have, the bees also take tree sap, and they call it propolis, and they use it to seal cracks, for example, in their hive.
Woodworking and whatnot.
And that propolis, a lot of people believe that you can make a tincture out of it, and it's good for you.
Cool.
And a lot of people eat the pollen, and the pollen, well, we just don't eat the pollen, but their main purpose is the cross pollination.
It's fascinating.
So when you ask why do other people get bees, part of the reason is they want to ensure pollination.
Cool. Stewardship. That's all the time we've got, Liz. Thanks very much for coming by and bringing everything that you brought today. I really appreciate it. It's good to meet you.
Well, it was great. Thank you very much.
Folks, that's it for today. As per usual, you can get at us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. Don't be a stranger. Until next time, take care.